Hello everyone, and bonjour. Today I'm gonna go over the update on the build and more into detail on how it works, everything surrounding equipment, skill, passives, how you play it, and a few disclaimer because I'm using something very unethical at the moment on this build. So you might remember I was building a lot of health, had like around 4k health before switching to this, where I'm currently building what I call a ward battery. So as you can see, my ward is going up and up and up and up. And I'm basically casting two abilities, which are Smoke Bomb and Dive Bomb, which make the Dive Bomb, which makes the Smoke Bomb, sorry, have infinite duration or near infinite. And in turn, I can generate a lot of shadows. And all of those shadows, every time they are created, they give me ward, 264 ward to be precise. And so that's how I get a lot of ward on the build. I fix my survivability. Yeah, that's pretty dumb because this stays even during echoes or like boss fights. Like basically how it works is in online, I don't know if it's also the case in offline, but at least in online, this transition area always stays loaded in, even when you're in an echo or a boss fight. And so those shadows are being created like constantly, all the time. So this is a tech that I found thanks to, I mean, I didn't find it personally, but there was a guy called Luciano. I'm gonna link his video in the description. And he was the guy who thought about doing this. We kind of knew before like that having infinite smoke bomb was possible, but I didn't really thought about like abusing ward generation through that. Like that's kind of crazy. Okay. So I finished building the battery, and now what I'm gonna do is equip my my true gear, per se. So you're gonna see like my ward going up and up and up and up, and that's because I have a lot of ward retention with that setup. Whereas before it was just a setup with a lot of cooldown recovery speed. See cooldown recovery speed everywhere, maxed out. And so if I load, I'm gonna show you the gameplay. So I'm gonna find a few mobs, boom. So I basically spam a few explosive trap. It's gonna proc explosive ballista. And then those ballista are gonna explode once I summon the third one, because there is a limit of 2. So every third one that I summon is gonna explode the first one that I got summoned before. And I also press dive bomb all the time, because it's gonna deal a lot of damage. Plus, every time it hits like a rare, it's giving me back mana. So this build, as you can see, is pretty cool. Like other versions of it, where you use throwing attack. I think Bina made a version like that. But yeah. The only requirement for this one is having a lot of mana regen. So I have 25, but the build can be playable at starting 16 mana regen. I think below 16 is just kind of iffy. You're not gonna sustain as I do. Plus, if you're 16 mana regen, what you can do is like remove this node. And once you have like 22, 21 mana regen, you can start picking that node up. So I'm basically immortal, and I'm doing like really, really good damage. And there is not really a space to place like a movement ability, if you're wondering, in this build. We want all of those abilities. It's just that I can put like a movement ability because I'm not gonna self-cast the Ballista. So let's talk over the skills. So explosive trap, we pick those nodes, those 2 nodes, and then this one to have like more traps thrown at the same time. Then we go for the bow node. So we also pick those 2 points. So basically every time we use explosive trap, there are 5 traps that are thrown. And then we have those 2 nodes making 90% chance for the trap that I spawned first. There's a 90% chance that they reproc. And then on top of those one that got reprocced, there is a 20% chance that it reprocs again. So let's say I have 5, then all those 5 get reprocced, and then there's a 20% chance that each one of those 5 gets reprocced again. So that will be like an average, I don't know, 10, 11 traps. Then I have, every time it explodes, 20% chance to summon a Ballista. So I summon, in average, 2 Ballista whenever I use. Another thing is that I generate Dust Shroud. So it's a lot of dodge. Basically, I have, I have a lot of dodge because I was in the smoke bomb. Let's go down to the minimum. Yeah, I have 17, but it will go down to 60% dodge when I'm in the echo. And on bosses, it's even higher because I'm spamming it all the time. And then finally, Sky Signal and Free Lofting Bird. So Sky Signal is giving a lot of pen. I don't remember how many stacks I get out of this, but it is a lot of penetration. So it's basically like a more multiplier. And this recovered the cooldown of Dive Bomb. Talking about Dive Bomb, so this is the setup to summon the Smoke Bomb. I mean, summon, extend the duration. Summon the black hole, as I like to call it. But otherwise, what you would do, you would respect 3 points there, 1 point there, and put all of your points there. This is really important. And like, I have 21 points. If you have 20 points, you could remove like 1 point here. Doesn't really matter. And so important, those Shadow Falcon, they basically, in combination with this, each Shadow Falcon is 1.5 times our damage of the base Dive Bomb. And so this is like multiplying our damage by quite a lot. And yeah, also we gain mana back every time we hit a boss or rare. It doesn't cost any mana. So even if we go like at minus mana, because we spam Explosive Trap on bosses, we can still cast Dive Bomb. Then we have cooldown remaining cooldown recovered, every time we use our Explosive Trap, thanks to this node as well. So this is like every less than 2 seconds we have Dive Bomb. Important as well, the Shadow Falcon, you can only spawn them if you have shadows. So that's why we spec into Smoke Bomb as well. Not only for the Infinite Word Battery, but as well as the chance to summon Shadow for the Dive Bomb, to be able to get to scale our damage. Like, otherwise we would like 80% our damage or even more. Then Ballista. So this is the classic setup for like explosive Ballista. You want to max this, you want to max this and this for the mana cost. Then this one for the crit, and this one to scale all of our increase and added damage. I think even the more damage gets scaled through that. Then Falconry. So Falconry, we take all the more multipliers, all those 3 nodes. We take the mana here. It's kind of nice. The kill threshold for bosses. The frailty and slow. So for bosses as well. It's kind of nice. Even though like right now we are immortal. Like if we get fixed soon, or when this build, this version of the build gets fixed, the slow and frailty is really useful. So every time you use the Falcon Strike, is gonna apply slow and frailty. Then we have all the nodes that scale our stat to the Falcon. So our increased damage at 75%. Our crit chance, so added and increase at 75. Then we have our crit multi and our flat, but they work a bit differently, where you have to build stacks. So for the crit multi, you have to crit, and every time you crit, you gain a stacks. You can get 2 stacks per 2 seconds, and there is a maximum of 10. And so in total, you can convert 250% of your crit multi. So this is like the reason why you'd rather build your own crit multi than minion crit multi. Like if you can build both at the same time, it's kind of huge. And this is the flat damage. So every time we consume a mark, we get a buff that converts 30% of our added damage, the highest between like, I think it's not the highest. No, it's not the highest. It's depending on the ability that we use. So we're using Explosive Trap as a bow ability. So this is converting our bow flat as melee flat for the Falcon at 30% for each stack. And since it stacks to 10 times, it added flat damage, which is insane, insane damage. And yeah, this is also why we spam Falcon Strike on bosses or single target. to apply the mark like constantly and have like 10 stat very fast, very fast. And yeah, that's it for falconry. And smoke bomb, we have the silver shroud to get the guaranteed dodge. We have the glancing blow, the slow again, and then it's classic duration, melee damage, and the shadow. We could also get the melee leech. Apparently it gives us leech whenever the falcon attacks. I'm not pretty sure about that. I haven't tried it, but it might be an interesting option to explore. Then for items, so for items, we want, very important, the Peak of the Mountain. It's a lot of crit chance for free. We don't care about the leech because we don't do a lot of damage, so we don't really care about leeching house. It's the falcon that is going to do, or the explosive ballista that is going to do the damage. Talon of Valor, that's 100 flat for free, plus the plus level skill. Very important. The plus to dive bomb is the most important stat here. Then plus 2 to falconry is kind of nice to get the kill threshold. And then the flat crit. RL assault, we don't care at all. And then if you want to hit like a legendary on it, you can have hybrid crit and bow attack speed, crit multi, and then hybrid physical penetration, so minion and your penetration. Yeah. Then the bow, you don't need this unique bow. You can have like the same base, the crit multi base, and have dexterity, minion damage, and chance to shred. Those are all of those are very good stats. The chance to shred, you can get it on the amulet as well. So you could get like a defensive stat instead. Then on the body armor, as well as the helmet, you want ward gain when you create a shadow for this version of the build. Very important because that's how you generate so much ward. Then I went for the Nozo's Pride to get extra mana regen. Yeah, cold res as well, but I'm gonna go in over that right now. So Frostbite Shackle is gonna be our way to get a lot of ward retention. So every % of uncapped cold res, so uncapped is like any of your cold res basically, gets converted to ward retention. So we want as much cold res on our gear as possible. And so we try to get it like everywhere we can. So I have a bit of cold res, a bit everywhere. Then the Omni and Red Ring. So this is left from my health version. You don't need an Omni and a Red Ring, but it's kind of nice to cap your res for free. Because you get the Omni, like if you try to get the really good one, then a Red Ring with as much old res as possible. And then on the Blessing, you can get the old res Blessing. So that's 20 plus potentially 20 there. That's already 40%. Then you only need like 35%. And if it's not 35% everywhere, it's like, okay, I have 30% there, 28% there, 39. I'm going to cap it like with a few like idols, like small idols. So this is very useful. And then for the belt, you want as much armor as possible for the build. So you want the armor, the 250 armor belt. I tried to get as well increased armor on my helmet, for example. Where else? I think that's it. But I could probably get more armor. My boots are mainly for movement speed. So as you can see, I have like haste effect whenever I use a traversal skill. So instead of having haste on hit in my passive tree, I prefer having like long duration haste, because the problem with haste is every time you refresh it, it overrides the duration. So if I put points into the haste on hit, my 3.9 second of haste would be like 1 second. And yeah, this is really, really good for movement speed. Like you're gonna see at 47, I'm at 94, and without the boots, I'm at like 14. So that's 80% movement speed, those boots alone. I didn't change my boots from before, so they still have like hybrid health, yeah, and physical res. Doesn't really matter. Instead, I would have cold res, elemental res to get even more ward retention. Then the relic, This one has increased crit chance as an implicit, so it's nice to cap the crit of the Falcon. Crit multi, mana regen, cold res, elemental res. You could also have dexterity. You see I have 81 dexterity. Very important dexterity on this build, because I do scale like the Ballista explosion with dexterity, and as well as the damage in the area. And I also have in Falconry the more damage per dexterity. And also dexterity gives increased damage, so it's like double dipping. It has a lot of value for the build. And then the ring, this one is just a mana regen ring, so I bump up my mana regen as well as dex. The idols, you want hybrid crit multi as much as possible. So this is insane, like it goes to 25. So that is like insane value for the build. You're giving so much minion crit to your Ballista, and especially through the Falcon through this. So what about the passive tree? So I grab all the dexterity here, boom, boom, and boom, plus the 12 by default. So that's, I think, something like 42 or so. I don't remember exactly, but it is a decent bit of dexterity you gain through your passive points alone. Then I go for the less damage taken, for going like Omega tanky, so I literally never die. Plus it's nice, it gives increased dodge rating. This for attack speed and the flat damage. In Marksman, the flat damage, the crit chance, and this is for crit multi. Crit vulnerability, kinda nice. So you only have to get on bosses 80% crit chance, and then the last 20% are from the crit vulnerability. A bit of bow damage and armor shred. Then on the Falconer, mana regen here, flat crit here plus minion damage, Crimson Shroud chances whenever the Falcon or Ballista hit. This gives us in total with 3 stacks 15% less damage taken over time. This is a chance of giving the Falcon some flat damage. It's very minuscule, but it's still nice, you know. Only costs 1 point. This very important. So I put 2 points, and basically gives a silver shroud depending on the number of points you put. It's gonna proc on the ability. So 2 points is the second one. If I put only 1 point, it will be only the first one, and etc, etc. Then we have intuitive connection. So it makes the ability instant cast, the Falcon Strike and Dive Bomb. This is very useful on bosses or even during clearing, because I'm gonna want to spam like Explosive Trap or move when I clear Echo, and I can use Dive Bomb without having my character to stop. So very useful. This node gives us a lot of flat armor as well as a bit of increase. This is like melee damage. This is damage as well. And this is like movement speed, dodge, as well as less damage taken. Very impactful node. So yeah, I'm gonna have the planner in the description. I'm also gonna have the loot filter. And yeah, the loot filter I'm using right now is basically a loot filter for like AMG. I'm basically like just showing exalted and uniques and recurring a bunch of stuff. But yeah. The loot filter I'm gonna have in the description is not gonna be this one. It's gonna be one that you can level with and play the build with. So yeah, here's the build. Here's my mana battery. I hope you have fun with it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.